Peace, family. Thank you for tuning in to Wise Sound. This here is the lecture of abundance by Al-Sufi. Tune in.
Okay, we're going to talk about abundance. What is abundance?
Having more than enough.
Having more than enough. It is having your financial and relationship and spiritual and physical and all those needs met. The question begs then, how do we ensure that we have an abundance of what we need and what we want? There is a means by which to ensure that we have the things that we need and we want. And that's through the invocation of what we call God, what the Christians and the Muslims and the Jews call God. By invoking him or it, we are ensured of having abundance. The means by which to invoke him or it is to make sure that we are in a state of perpetual obedience. Now you have to ask yourself, what are we to obey? What are the rules and the laws and the guidelines and the natural laws and things, the principles that we are to obey so that we keep ourselves in a position of being in abundance? I'm reminded of a story of the prophet Elijah when he came upon a widow and her son. The widow was told by the prophet to make sure that he was fed. The widow said that I have just a little bit of cornmeal and just a little bit of oil. My son and I are going to eat it and die. The prophet told her, if you do as I say, and first make me a cake, there will be enough for you and your son. Now, the widow did something very strange, contrary to common sense. She went and did as the prophet told her to do. And in so doing, i.e. invoking the promises of God to put herself in a position that she might be blessed, she went and did what the prophet said. And every time she went back to the barrel to get that little bit of meal and that little bit of oil, it never ran dry. It was always there.
She went and got all the containers from everybody and got ready to have, because she was expecting to have.
Right. She was in a state of expectation. Not in a state of expectation of relying on this man to do for her, but in a state of expectation of her higher self or her God self or her communion with God enabled her to always have that abundance of food to sustain her and her son. A lot of times we think that the only abundance that there is the abundance of material things, of money. My question to that statement is, why are there philanthropists? There are philanthropists because they know that there is a law, the law of abundance. It's a natural law and a law that works throughout this entire universe that allows them to give of their material wealth so that they may get back some abundance that isn't necessarily material. It's not necessarily money. If they give $1 million to a particular charitable cause or whatever, they're not expecting to get $1.5 million, $2 million back from having given that money. But because they are operating under a principle that most people do not know, the law of abundance, they know that they will get back 7 times in relationships, in health, in their ability to be happy or to do the things that they want to do, because they're operating again under that principle. This principle is also inherent in the Bible. I got several scriptures. I'm not going to have time to go into it though, but this principle is also inherent in the Bible, and we see that the means by which to do what we are supposed to do, or the means by which to invoke God to do what it is that we want him to do, is through the use of obedience. Finding out exactly what it is he wants us to do, doing that thing that we want him to do, And as I talked to one of my students the other day, you can, for lack of a better term, make God do what you want him to do by virtue of telling him, I've done what you told me to do. Now the onus is upon you to do what you said you're going to do. Because the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews all agree that one thing God cannot do is lie. If he says he's going to do it, you go to the 28th chapter of Deuteronomy. He tells you clearly, if you do this, I will do this. If God is going to do what he says he's going to do, and you do what you are supposed to do, there is nothing that can come between what is meant for you and you getting it. If you live in a state of expectation and an understanding of the law of balance, the laws of balance and the laws of abundance. The preacher operates under this principle constantly. Every Christian preacher in the world operates under this principle. The problem is he does not teach the principle to the congregation, but he utilizes the principle for himself. There is not a poor preacher or a preacher who is not getting in abundance the things that he needs and wants, who's practicing this. There's not one. Everyone who practices this gets in abundance the things that they need and they want. The problem is the preacher either does not understand the fact that he's practicing this, or he knows it and he refuses to tell the congregation. This is the power of abundance. Whatever it says in the book, whatsoever you ask for in my name, it shall be given unto you. You had a question, brother?
No, I'll let you finish.
For every it'll say you do this, and there's either a blessing if you do it,
or
and
a
if
curse.
you don't, there's a curse.
And that's the laws of dharma and karma.
Are we supposed to wait till you finish before we ask questions?
You can jump right in if you want to. It's fine. I'm recording it, so be aware that I am recording your questions.
I understand a preacher using this principle and unknowingly not giving it to the people for whatever reason. But you made the statement that some of them know it and refuse. I don't see how they can continue to operate and hold that back.
Yes.
And me.
Because
Something got to go wrong. Is that why they have a stroke or something?
Well, yeah, that happens too. But it's true. Okay, I see what you said. Because it's a principle, because it's a law, it's governable regardless of the character, shall we say, of the person.
That's
You know,
scary.
the character of the person does not necessarily dictate
I was just about to
the
say that.
operation of the law.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
because it's a principle. And that's something, again, the preacher does not really get into. Nobody ever talks about principles. Well, what's the definition of principles?
I've been taught what you're telling me, so I don't know what church you're talking about, but I've been taught what you're telling me, okay?
The definition
It's
of
good to hear it
principles,
again, though.
the definition of principles is the foundations, the thing that undergirds, the first things, the things that need to be done first. If you're not adhering to the things that need to be done first, then it's like in the Bible it says you build your house on sand, it won't last. If the principles are not laid down first, and the principles are the natural
Foundation.
laws of the universe, if the principles are not the foundation of what you're doing, then what you build on top of it will eventually crumble. But the principles are not necessarily tied to the character of the person doing it. We all know that there are folk, and it even says it in the book, who appear to be blessed. They have horrible character, they do all sorts of things, but they still seem to be getting the accoutrements of money coming in, and they're millionaires and billionaires and things of this nature. Why is it that a just God would allow that? Because the reason for it is they're utilizing a principle that we do not fully understand to get those accoutrements from the universe, regardless of their character. Now, if you want these principles to work for you in a total way, in totality, as opposed to just getting money, then you have to bring your character into the situation. So now, if you're standing on the principle of abundance, and your character is such that you strive to do what's right, and you strive to be righteous, you strive to be a noble person, utilizing the principles of the laws of abundance, the things that you bring to yourself are not just money, but like I said earlier, good relationships, respect. People come to you to ask you about courses of action in their life, things that money can't buy. Having a good relationship with your children when they're grown, having a good relationship with your spouse. Things that money can't buy are based on principles and principled behavior, but also your character. Now, I want to go into dharma and karma. Dharma is that which is defined by your actions. So, if you are using principles, these laws to get these things, you are in essence enacting dharma. You're bringing about these actions by virtue of your understanding or your knowledge of the utilization of these principles, of the utilization of the law of abundance. Karma comes in when you use these laws to get these things, but you don't bring good character along with you. So you can get all of these wonderful and good things, but again, if you don't have good character when you're doing it, you're in essence storing up for the next generation. You're not going to really benefit from it. It's not going to make you happy. We all know people who got money, drug dealers, and they got hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they can't leave their house because they're afraid somebody's going to kill them. They can't. They feel bad about what they've done to their community, even though they got money. They ride the nice cars and everything. They cannot utilize they cannot partake in the benefits of the money that they've accumulated because of the way they accumulated it. This is character. They're using, again, to some extent, the law and the principle of abundance, but they can't partake of the wider totality of it. This is an issue. This is a problem. So I advocate one thing where this is concerned, and that is learn the laws so that those laws can benefit you. Don't rely on your religious institutions to teach you these laws because they either can't or they won't. Secondly, learn those laws for yourself so that you can utilize these laws in your life to get the things that you need and you want. It is not natural, it is not normal to suffer. It is not right nor prescribed by God to be poor.
I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living.
That's right. All afflictions of the human condition are a manifestation of something malevolent in your life. Sickness, disease, depression, want, anxiety, poverty, car accidents, drug addiction. These are all manifestations of a benevolent force that has come into your life to do harm to you. The books say to separate you from God. These things are not normal. We should not allow these things, we should not accept these things in our life as normal. Right. Because we do not know the principles by which to get these things out of our lives. So learn the principles, learn the laws. Secondly, know that the captive conditions, the fatal conditions that afflict the human person are not natural. They're not normal. Why would God create you to suffer?
I know the plans I have for you. Plans to bless you, not to harm you, to give you a future and a hope.
Thirdly, make sure that you are trying to engage in some form of moral hygiene. There are attacks of immorality, really just spiritual filth, spiritual detritus all around us. The media, the TV, the music, right, the videos, what we see on YouTube, social media, all of these things are there. And they're there, they're there and designed to make sure that we are filthy, literally filthy in our souls, in our spirit, and in our minds, in our psyche. The more we partake in this, the filthier we become. Learn and utilize moral hygiene. Make sure that you're doing what you need to do to keep your spirit and your soul clean. Just like we take a shower every day, we bathe every day, we clean the outside. What are we doing to clean the inside? Are we go fishing? Go out to a cabin for a couple of days. Unplug so that you can maintain your moral compass and be in a position to take advantage of the laws that have been put here for you to use and be the best person that you can possibly be.
Would serving be part of that
too?
No.
No. Serving is not part of it. Serving is a good thing to do for someone else. Yes, absolutely. But if you are sick and you're serving others, couldn't you give them the flu while you're serving them? Well, it's the same thing with moral hygiene. If you are afflicted with a soul, spirit disease, and you're trying to help others, you afflict them, even in your desire to do something noble and righteous, because you have not cleaned yourself first.
So by hygiene, you mean, I'm trying to understand what you mean by
hygiene, cleanliness.
Well, I know but the outside, but when you're talking about the inside.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever been depressed?
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at it. If you've ever been depressed, what did your outside world look like? Was your house clean?
You don't want to do anything.
Right, so like clean your house. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There is always a physical manifestation with whatever is going on with your particular spirit, with your particular soul. So if you're depressed, if you're angry, if you're resentful, if you're hurting in some way, all you have to do is just look at your surroundings and you'll see that there is a physical manifestation of what's going on with you internally. That's why it is important to keep your physical area and your physical person clean so that you do not give the malevolent entities that are all around us opportunity to come in and do you harm.
Hence, well, I know you.
One more thing, and then I'll be done. As black people, we are, and I know I'm going to get some pushback from this, but just let me get it out. We are morally
injured.
We're morally injured, but we're morally injured because we are morally superior to any other group on the planet. Every group of people on the planet came to the black man or the black lands to determine what their particular group's spirituality would be. It is not a coincidence that you have this connection between Ethiopia and Israel right now. That's not a coincidence. Every group of people knew that you had to go back to the source to determine exactly what to do to appease your gods. Up until, I want to say maybe I'm going to say up until the end of the World War II, African American people were known throughout the world as the most Christian, righteous, noble, and upright people on the planet. So much so that German scholars, those who were going to get a PhD or a DD in theology, would come to America and not go to the Lutheran Church or the Presbyterian Church or the Catholic Church or whatever. They would go to the Black Baptist Church to see the African American in his natural habitat worshiping God, so that they could get a truer understanding of what it meant to be the widow and the orphan eating that one little bit of cornmeal and oil.
Is that where there were all those foreign students at Bishop College?
And that's why there was so many Jewish and white professors at black institutions. Albert Einstein even taught at a black institution during and after World War II. You had Germans, you had a great many European white professors who came and taught at black institutions because they saw, and rightfully so, the African American man and woman as the moral compass of the world. They've always seen us this way. This is one of the reasons why they took such great steps to make sure that we were broken down, not just financially. We always think that this is a financial situation or a cultural situation or a sociological situation. The racism is not a financial, cultural, or sociological situation. Racism is a spiritual situation designed to break a people down at the spiritual level so that their moral superiority will leave them, will escape them, will run away. And they will become, as we are today, that which these racists who didn't like us said that we were. It was hard for the racists to make that, and I don't want to do the politics thing, but it was hard for the racists to make the argument that black people were inferior when we were the ones that everybody wanted to learn the religion from. And so to make sure that that didn't happen anymore after World War II, you had these, and we've talked about the plans and things put in place to deteriorate our culture in America, the African American culture. So the American Negro, the American African American, really black people, wherever they are morally superior to all others. We are morally superior because we are the ones who are closest to these principles that I spoke of earlier. We are the ones who, when your grandmother and my grandmother, his grandmother, your grandmother, even if they called him in Spanish or they called him in English, Southern English or whatever, the Jesus that they called upon, even though they were using the same name, the attributes, remember I did the lecture on concepts and attributes, the attributes of the Jesus that they called upon was not the same attributes of the Jesus that people call on today. The attributes of that Jesus was someone who was here right now, who was going to come and help me with my situation right now. You see this sign up here? It says, God is not enough. God is really not involved in my life. That's modern day Christianity. That has nothing whatsoever to do with the truth of the Savior figure, the true God, the creation, making sure that you are taken care of. Why would God create you and then Why would God create you and not make sure that you were taken care of? It makes no sense. So, in essence, I'm gonna leave it at this. We need to make sure that we adhere to some principles we need to make sure, I would advise you to make sure that you determine what wealth and abundance really is. Find out what the principles are and what the laws are that govern the life of people and entities in this universe. Determine what those laws are, and then utilize those laws to your advantage. There's no reason why anyone in a faith community, or for that matter anyone else, has to worry about their lights getting cut off. That means somebody's not teaching properly. There's no reason that anyone should worry about paying their rent. That means somebody's not teaching properly. There's no reason that any child should be hungry. That means somebody is not teaching properly. Somebody has set themselves up as the spiritual leaders of a people, and they are not teaching those people the laws and the principles to make sure to invoke the Creator in their lives immediately, to come down, come around, come up, come wherever, and take care of that situation that's going on in that person's life. Questions?
I have a couple comments. So when you talk about God being here right now, one of the things that older people, when I say older, I'm talking about people born before 1935, would say was that God showed me a sign, prove to me. That's different than the concept of God is yonder and I have to reach to develop a relationship with God. I remember vividly my grandmother having conversations about if I wanted something, all I had to do was ask for it. Testing. If God was real, test God, and God will prove whether or not God is real or not.
That's what Malachi 3:10 says.
Another thing you were talking to being cleanliness,
Hygiene,
moral hygiene, separating yourself from filth. One of the things that's really unique about the Indian, and when I say Indian, I'm talking about those that are from the the country called India. Those that are Muslims throughout the world typically follow this tradition and this hygiene concept that is very, very much apparent in both of these cultures, and that is before you enter into their home, you leave your filth at the door. Yeah. Now, when I say the filth, what do I mean by filth? I'm talking about the shoes that you have on, because of the dirt that is underneath the sole. Because as you walk through this world, you attract filth. And the concept is to leave that filth at the door, preferably on the outside of the door, and not to bring it into the house.
And see, that's a metaphor for not just the filth of the shoes, but also the filth of the world.
Absolutely.
You know, when you come into my house, let's say I'm a Muslim. You come into my house, you're leaving the negativity out there. And you're coming in here, you're bringing good vibrations and positivity when you come in. And I'm going to provide you with good vibrations and positivity. One of the things that Muslim households do, You don't go to somebody's house and they don't offer you something to eat or drink.
Hospitality.
Hospitality. That means depression. Let's say you're depressed. When you come to my house, you leave that depression outside. When you take off your shoes, that's a metaphor of leaving that depression out there. When you come in here now, that depression is out there. Now I can make you happy by giving you some tea, and then we sitting and talking. Men and women do this.
Yeah, Abraham always, when he had the angels or whoever people were coming, they were always fixing them something to eat. Sit down, let me wash your feet, get you something to eat, let me know.
And remember what God said to Moses on Mount Sinai.
Take your shoes
thy sandals off thy feet, for thou art standing on holy ground.
Yeah.
Right? So if this is my house, this is holy ground. This is my house, this is my abode. And if God is with me, God is in here with me too. So you don't come in here with your muddy feet.
But see, we don't adhere to those principles today because I don't want to offend my brother. I don't want to offend my sister by asking you to remove your filth before you come into my house. And we openly invite.
I know people that are not Muslim or anything, they'll be like, take your shoes off, please.
When Paul's talking about, when they start talking that negative stuff, we don't
stop it.
We don't stop it.
Yeah, we don't stop
You
it.
should be respectful when you're in somebody else's home.
No.
But no, he's talking about something different though.
Right. See, I'm saying that's one piece, and that is very, very much important. We should tell people before you come into my house, take off your shoes. Right? We should do that. But the filth is on the outside of the. Okay, when we are the house.
Your body, your temple.
Right. You understand what I'm saying? Give you an example. My brother is engaged in theft. No, drugs. And he says, hey, Paul, I need you to give me $20 to get some gas. Should I give him $20? Knowing that he's a drug addict? Why not?
He'll hurt himself if he'll get the drugs.
I am now engaging in what?
Enabling.
And you're
Filth. See, let's call it what it
You're
is.
enabling filth.
I am enabling it.
And that makes you filthy too.
And that makes me filthy. Filthy. Filthy.
Yeah, filthy.
Yeah, I have a friend that has an ex-wife that's a drug addict. He was like, well, I feel sorry for her. I need to give her some money. And I'm like, what's she going to do with the money? Because his daughter buys her food and stuff, but it won't give her cash. And he's like, well, I feel sorry for her. And I told him, well, what are you going to give her cash? Your daughter makes sure she eats. That's good enough. If you give her cash, she's going to go spend it on drugs. And
See,
he's like, well.
again, we are so far removed
But he don't
from the
think.
concept. No, we're so, because of that we think that we're doing a nice thing. Because, I can't stand to see her like this. I can't stand to see much. I can't stand to see them like this. We think that we're doing a good thing because we have tied doing a good thing with how we feel. And that's incorrect. Doing a good thing is based on adhering to some law, some ethic, or some concept, or some principle that orders our goodness. Just feeling good about doing something doesn't mean that you're doing good. And we do this a lot. There's a homeless man. Oh, let me take some money over there to him. But you don't know what. He might be a child molester. So you gonna fund his child molesting lifestyle.
On Sunday morning where we minister, they tell us don't give the people money. They say we have clothes, we have hygiene products,
Right.
we have food here. And we have programs to get them off the street and things to tell them, but don't be giving people cash.
Well, see, this-
they
but
tell
this
us
is-
don't give them cash.
This is indicative of the necessity of moral hygiene. You are not, you think that you're doing the morally correct thing when in actuality your hygiene is absolutely filthy because you are not adhering to any principles or any laws that underlie making a difference in that person's life. We have family members, friends, children, mothers and fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers who do horrendous things to us. I have there's a young woman right now. I'm not going to say her name because I might give her this recording. She has been really mistreated by her mother. I mean, really mistreated by her mother. Everybody around her, family, sister, brother, everybody's telling her, well, that's your mother. Well, that's your mother. She can do what she wants. That's your mother. Whatever she do should be all right with you because that's your mother.
No.
And by virtue of her being your mother, you should, whatever she do to you, whatever she say, however she treats you, you should put up with it. And you should go there with hands out to deal with her.
No.
And that is just not correct. That is the textbook of moral, that's the textbook definition of moral injury. When your moral hygiene is deficient, you open yourself up to moral injury. You open yourself up to moral injury because you do not understand or live within the laws and the principles of abundance. And so you become morally injured. You think that, oh, I'm doing a good thing. Oh, I'm going to really be blessed for this. When in actuality, you're heaping coals upon yourself because you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. Everybody, and this is y'all going to disagree with me on this. Everybody should not be helped. Everyone should not be helped.
I was just going to say that.
If God is dealing
Throwing
with somebody,
pearls before swine.
if God is dealing with somebody because of their own disobedience, and you're going to come in there and you're going to say, well, I'm going to help you because you're in a bad situation. But God himself is working on this person.
They got to
what are
hit
you
bottom,
doing?
and they can't hit bottom if you don't get out the way.
If you're a Jesus follower, you are only told to spread the what?
The gospel.
That's it. It's not your responsibility to go
I
and
need this information.
it's not your responsibility to go and take a loaf of bread, a piece of fish, and feed 40,000 people. It's not your responsibility. Who told you that it was your responsibility to do that?
The good feeling. That's who told you, the good feeling.
I know we want to do a lot of things. You know, I look back at Islam. You know when Muslims help people? Do you all know?
No.
It's a time of year that they help people. It's called Ramadan.
Oh yeah. Heard of that.
They give alms.
Right. Hey, we it's interesting you doing this lecture because we have a misunderstanding of living by the principles of abundance. And see, this is an individual thing. This is not a group effort.
It's not a congregational effort.
Right.
It's your own individual determination, what you determine within yourself to do. That's right or wrong. It's like righteousness or nobility or honor or wisdom. You have to determine in yourself to do it. And me and this man used to be members of a Presbyterian church. And I don't know if you all know this, but Presbyterianism comes out of Calvinism. John Calvin came up with the concept of the Presbyterian church. And in Calvinism, they say you can tell how well a person is doing what God has told them to do by looking at the wealth that they've accumulated. So the wealthy are the most righteous in Calvinism. because they have money, because they have the physical and visual accoutrements of the blessing. This is Calvinism. Calvinism became Presbyterianism. Now, they don't follow that exactly now, but in actuality, the concept holds true to an extent. It's not just wealth, though. It's all these other things. That's why I didn't say wealth. I said abundance. It's all these other things, too. If you the preacher, and you up here preaching, and you telling people, saving souls, and you telling people what they should do to get right with God, and Saturday night, you at the gambling shack, or you messing around with one of them old girls over at the Lady Love Club or something, but you gonna tell somebody they need to get right on Sunday morning, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And all you have to do is look at that man's life just a little close. And you'll see that, yeah, he might be making money. Yeah, he might be respected in the pulpit. But what's his family saying about him? What's his children saying about him? What does his health look like? These are the conspicuous aspects of abundance. If your folk can't stand you, nobody want to be around you, but you got money, you're not living in abundance. If you can't get along with your wife, you can't get along with your husband or your boyfriend, you can't get along with your children, you can't get along with your homeboys. If you don't have someone in your life who will tell you straight up, that's wrong. Do you know how precious that is? How so few people have a person like that in their lives who will say, hey, you're wrong. How many of us have someone like that in our life? I do. Will tell you, I love you. You know I love you. I'll take this shirt off my back and give it to you, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
A lot of folk don't have that.
That's self-destruction. You don't have that.
Most people won't tell you what you want to hear.
Most people, friends.
Especially if you got a nickel in your pocket.
Right. But I'm talking about friends. I want to spare your feelings because I don't want to lose your friendship. So I'm not going to tell you when you're wrong. Yeah, girl, yeah, you're right.
That's not a true friend now.
No.
Tell me you don't have something like that, though. I'm sorry I didn't hear you. Right, exactly. We all got folk like that. Are you living in abundance then? I'm sorry I didn't hear you. We all got folk like that. Now, if we got one or two folk who's willing to tell us when we're wrong, we living in abundance. If we got one or two folk who's willing to give us $1 or $2 when we need some help, we living in abundance. I guarantee you, $1,000 to a man who's hungry and a Big Mac to the man who's hungry, the $1,000 ain't gonna quench that hunger as fast as the Big Mac. He got to go take the $1,000 and buy the Big Mac. I got $1,000 and I got a Big Mac, and you hungry and you ain't eaten 3 weeks.
He gonna take that Big Mac.
He gonna take the Big Mac. He gonna want that $1,000 after he ate the Big Mac, but he gonna want that Big Mac first.
You shouldn't say Big Mac. Man, I won't.
Ooh, I don't eat nothing out of McDonald's.
I haven't eaten in about 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
I eat
that's
the
the
oatmeal.
situation.
It's pretty much about it.
I hate oatmeal.
Yeah,
Oh, well, oatmeal?
Okay, we're recording, y'all.
He just don't like oatmeal.
You don't like oatmeal?
I don't like
I love
oatmeal.
My
oatmeal.
goodness, boy.
I like that oatmeal with the apples and the raisins
I
and
put
stuff.
berries in mine.
All right, we have 43 minutes now. One more thing I want to say, then I'm done.
Okay.
One more thing. To be obedient is to be, and obedience is the means by which to unlock the laws of the universe to operate on your behalf, to goad God into doing what you need him to do. The means by which to do that is through obedience. It ain't through believing in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and accepting him as your personal Lord and Savior. You can say that, and you can say it all day long, and then go out here and do God knows what to God knows who. God is looking at what you do and how you feel, not what you say. So the means by which to unlock the laws of the universe, to unlock God's will, to operate on your behalf, so that the captive condition that you find yourself in, that we all find ourselves in at different points in our life, the means by which to do that is to be obedient.
To obey is
To
better
obey.
than sacrifice.
Obedience is better than sacrifice.
And obedience breaks the curse.
And obedience breaks the curse. If we are obedient, if we do what we need, and we don't have to go by the book, the God or the universe or Brahman or whatever you want to call him has written in our very DNA the scripture of doing what we're supposed to do. We just need to follow it. It's called instinct and intuition.
Right, essence, right?
Right. If we do obey and do what we're supposed to do, we will be taking the first steps to unlocking the principles of what God wants for us. Those are the principles. Principles are always positive, never negative. Principles are supposed to enhance your character. They're supposed to make you a better person if you utilize them right. If we are obedient, that's the first step in unlocking God, Brahma, Allah, Yah, whatever. That's the first step in unlocking that process in your life to get the things that you need and you want. And just like the widow and her son, you will not go without. You will not be without. You will have the things that you need and most of the things that you want. But you have to do what you're supposed to do. Another one of the laws of the universe. God will do for you whatever you need him to do, but you have to do it first. You can't say, God, I want a Mercedes, and then sit there and look at soap operas all day. You have to get out there and do something. In the Quran it says, or the Hadith, I can't remember, it says, if you take 2 steps toward me, I'll take 5 steps towards you. But you got to take them 2 steps first. And if you do what you're supposed to do, and if God is not a liar, then he has to do what he says he's going to do, because you've done what you're supposed to do. Everything else will flow like gravy. Thank you.
All right, family. If you enjoyed this lecture, then I need you to do me a favor and then check out all the other shows that are on Wise Sound. And to see more from Wise Studios, check out our website and the link in the bios of our social medias and the link in the bio of this podcast as well. And please stay tuned for more to come from Wise Studios. Peace.